Financial markets, cryptocurrency, gold and silver, world news.
Fair to say you simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills. That actually increases the money supply.
Financial turmoil explained.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this October 6, 2022, a Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. You know, the central banks, it's very difficult to stay ahead of these shysters. And, you know, I suspect a scam that they're pulling right now, and I'm going to point out what it is, but it's only me being suspect of them. I'm not certain of what I'm going to say, but I'm very suspect, though, that they're doing something called yield curve control on the long end of the yield curve, especially with like the 10-year treasury. And I'm going to point out what I'm seeing, and also how they've been moving money around in the system. So on one side, the Fed is claiming, hey, you know, we're doing quantitative tightening and we're doing raising interest rates. And yeah, that is true on the short end of the yield curve. But it seems as though every time that the Dow Jones hits a 30,000 mark, or it starts to drop below 30,000, all of a sudden these hanky-pankies start within the backside of the market. In other words, they increase the amount in the reverse repo operation to inject liquidity into the system, and then it seems like they're out there buying treasuries on the long end of the yield curve. It seems like. I say it seems like. That's what it seems like to me. Now, I said that 3 times. Well, anyway, guys, listen. Let's take a look at all this. And first thing we're going to take a look at is the Fed repo operation that they're doing. You realize that it's up to $2.3 trillion in the reverse repo operation? This is massive amounts of liquidity. It says the amount of money that investors are parking at the major Federal Reserve facility climbed to yet another all-time high, as funds sought out places to stash short-term cash. 101 participants on Wednesday put a total of $2.367 trillion at the Fed's overnight repurchase agreement facility. So you see where they're restoring liquidity into the system. But at the same time, let's take a look at this U.S. 10-year. And here's what I'm seeing. Whoops. Let me take a look here. You see this right here. This precipitous drop right here in the Treasury yield. Let's see, it was 9th to 30th, 2022, and it closed at 3.8, and then boom, 3.65, this sudden precipitous drop in Treasury yields. And then it continued all the way down to 3.61. This is, I see this as hanky-panky going on. What the evidence points toward, or anyway, what my suspicions, I'm going to say what my suspicions points toward, is that the Fed's still purchasing and they're doing yield curve control on the long end of the yield curve. In other words, basically where I'm going with all this is the Fed giveth and the Fed taketh away. And so on one hand, they're saying, oh, look, here we are, we're taking away, we're supporting the dollar, we're fighting inflation. And on the other side, with the other hand, they're pumping liquidity into the system and controlling the long end of the yield curve. So what's up with all this? Are they really fighting inflation, or is it all just a sham? In other words, they watch the market. Whenever the Dow drops down below 30,000, they're right in there in the bond market, doing hanky-panky and increasing the amount of liquidity that they're supplying the system through the overnight window and through the reverse repo operation. What a crooked bunch. Anyway, well, let's take a look at these markets today, and look, silver price still being manipulated, They haven't stopped manipulating it. It's 2042 today, but I'm going to tell you what. The reason why it's over $20 right now is they're having difficulty now within retail trading of silver. Retail within the retail market of silver. Your silver coin dealers and everything else, they're starting to have difficulty now obtaining supply of physical silver. And this is going to get a lot worse very, very quickly as people out there start to realize that the whole financial system is a scam. I'm going to tell you, for years I've been preaching that this is coming on my channel, but it's finally starting to really come. And what I've been preaching is that there's going to be a day, and I've said this for years, when they're going to run out of physical silver and gold, specifically mostly silver. I've also said that, there's a big difference between silver and gold, and a lot of people don't realize this. In stored supplies of gold, there's actually more gold out there than there is silver to be had in vaults and stuff. And why is the silver price like such an enormous number? Like, you can buy so much silver for such little, for the same amount of gold. Why? Because historically it was never this way. It's only been this way for the last short period of time. This is an abnormality in the gold to silver ratio. That's not your norm through history. This is not your norm. And it will go back to the historical average, which is around 10 to 1, 15 to 1. That's much more normal. And I mean, for a little while there, it touched like 100 to 1. And, if you buy in while this historical abnormality is occurring with the silver and gold ratio, silver is going to catch up. In fact, it might overshoot. And I've talked on my channel for a long time. I said when it does overshoot, it might go to a ratio of 4 to 1. And that means 4 ounces of silver is worth the same as 1 ounce of gold. But gold price is not going to stay where it is now when that happens. You're probably looking at like $7,000 gold when that happens. So what does that mean for the silver price? If silver's 4 to 1. I mean, you're talking about more than $1,000 an ounce for silver. And yeah, you can still buy the stuff. But there's going to come a time. You see, I'm going to tell you something. The U.S. Geological Survey did an article on silver a few years back, and they said that it is going to become extremely rare in the future. Now, they did this a few years ago. But, I mean, we're talking about an article that's done by a very reputable information. It's very... And we're coming into that time now. See, they've went around... Basically, what's happened is they went all around the earth everywhere looking for silver deposits. And they found silver deposits. And it's only in the modern era, since we've got highly advanced technical machinery, like big... First they come up with steam shovels, but now they've turned them into diesel-operated, gigantic, enormous machines that can move massive amounts of earth very quickly. In the old days, they had to do it with a pick and axe and a shovel. And now they can move massive amounts of earth with these big earth-moving machines. So they've went into these areas where they found silver around the earth. They've scoured the earth and found all the good deposits. And they've went in And they've just basically took these big, powerful industrial machines and they've just dug it all out, all the good stuff. It's like the easy fruit on a fruit tree, you know, the fruit that's hanging low to the ground. You can pick it real easy. You know, and then you get the later stuff where you got to climb up a ladder. And when the tree is nearly completely picked, say it's apples, you have to reach way out on the limb to grab the last apples, way up in the top of the tree, and they're hard to get. This is the way with silver. They've basically went in with these big machines and scoured the earth, and what's happening is what's called ore, O-R-E, is what the silver comes out of. It's big rocks. And the silver is little tiny flecks of it inside these big rocks. They have to crush these big rocks in the powder and get those little tiny flecks of silver, and then they use different chemicals and stuff to concentrate them and extract them from the rock powder. That's how they get it. And what's happening is now they're digging into rocks that don't have as much silver in them as the rocks they were digging into back when they had these record years of silver production. Because the world needs silver. So what did they do with all this silver they dug out of the ground? They've used a lot of it in things like electronics and in solar panels and things like that. Industry consumes a tremendous amount of silver, and it's non-recoverable. It's gone. And so what's happened now is energy costs are going up, and this means the cost to get the silver out of these ore rocks cost more and more year after year, and they're getting less and less silver out of the rocks. And they consume it all. Industry goes through a tremendous amount. I think it's like 500 million ounces a year or something like 600. I can't remember the exact number that industry uses, but it's a tremendous amount of silver every year. And they're basically scouring it all out of the earth, and it's getting harder and harder to get every year. And in the end, it's gonna be as hard to get as gold in the end. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if like 30 years from now, it's par with gold, price-wise. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. So as far as long-term investment is concerned, if you just put it away and hold it and say, okay, this is my savings, not the bank anymore, this is my savings. If you do that and you sit on it for years, well, it's going to be probably the best investment you've ever made in your life. You know? Don't think short term, and make sure you get physical silver, and don't think short term. Don't think, okay, I'm going to make a profit off of this right away, because they've been manipulating this price down on silver for years, and this is getting ready to break now because they're running out. And this is only paper manipulation, and how that works is, and I'll simplify that for you as well, is they just write on a slip of paper, like SLV, and well, they don't just write on it. They use machines to just print it off or whatever. And actually, even now, it's not even printed. They just put it on a computer screen, like they do our money. But it says that you own such and such of amount of silver. But that silver's not real. It's just abstract. It's a derivative product. And they can create as much of that type of silver as they want. It's just silver on a computer screen. It says it's silver, but it's not really silver. And they use that to determine the price. And they can create massive amounts of that. Where this is why you're getting these premiums. When you want the real thing, you have to pay a premium. And the premiums are only going to get higher and higher as long as they keep this spot price suppressed. And it's going to be harder and harder to get the real thing. It's going to become more and more rare in the earth, because you're dealing with two things here. One, you're dealing with fantasy, which is what the silver market is right now, because of all these derivatives. And you're dealing with a real tangible thing in the real world. And that's why the difference in the price when you have to pay your premium on your spot price when you buy real physical silver. Generally, right now, a very cheap premium would probably be $4 an ounce over spot price, over the price, you know. But it's going to get higher. It's going to get $8, $10, $20. whatever, as long as they keep this game going. But what's more likely to happen is sooner or later they're going to lose control over the spot price as well. Because the Asian markets, they deal with the real product, like the Shanghai Gold Exchange, you know. Anyway, talked enough about this. This is probably the deal of a lifetime right here. And you can still get some, but it's getting difficult. You might not get what you want anymore. Used to be you go to a place where they sold silver coins or whatever, and you could buy exactly what you wanted. You wanted silver eagles, or you wanted Canadian maples, and you could get the exact years you wanted and everything. Now you go in and you got to kind of settle for what they got. They might have some coin that you never heard of or something before, you know, or you might have to get Sunshine Mint coins or something, you know, but they're good. The Sunshine Mint, I think, is one of the biggest mints in the world. Anyway, but you got to watch out too. Always buy, if you're going to buy some silver, always buy from a reputable dealer, because there is Chinese made, and there's other places too in the world where they make it, but it's like these coins are like alloy, and they pretend they look just like the real thing, and they imitate the real coins. Like they imitate Canadian maples, and they imitate the eagles, American eagles, and so on. They imitate these coins, and they look so real that you could almost indistinguish. It's hard to distinguish them from the real coins, and it's called fake silver. And they also have fake gold. You know, they put tungsten sometimes inside gold bars and stuff, because tungsten's heavy like gold, you know, and they hide it inside and so you got to be careful stuff like that you don't get crooked when you're buying precious metals. But generally these big reputable dealers, generally that's good stuff when you buy from them. Anyway, talked enough about silver today. It's a deal of a lifetime, and it isn't going to come by again. That's why I'm kind of pushing you guys and telling you guys about it, because it's really low right now. When you can, it's probably the lowest price silver's ever been. It's lower right now than it was back when it was $3 an ounce. It's actually cheaper now, because back when it was $3 an ounce, your dollar would buy something. Those are back in the days when you could, for $30, you could fill your grocery cart at the grocery store. Now $30 doesn't even buy you a small bag of groceries. Anyway, listen. Anyway, guys. So 2038 for silver today, and gold is 1710 today. Let's take a look at cryptocurrencies. What we're looking at in crypto today is Bitcoin is at 19,951, and Ethereum's at 1355. The Dow Jones today, it's down 221 points. It seems like whenever it drops down below that 30,000 mark and starts to free fall, it seems like the Fed finds some backdoor way of stopping it. That's just what it seems like to me, you know. But I think myself is this whole thing about fighting inflation. Well, they ain't getting any success. They might as well give up before they destroy the economy. Anyway, let's take a look now at crude oil at 87.81. Move index today 152 points. Gotta watch this. It's getting up kind of high. You know, and this is instability in the credit. This is an indicator of instability in the credit markets. When this gets up high, the higher this goes, the more unstable the credit markets are. U.S. 10-year right here, and we're going to have to go back a page and see what U.S. Treasuries are doing. The U.S. 10 years at 3.84, and the U.S. 30 years at 3.81. There's inversions everywhere in the yield curve right now. dollar index today is at 111.82 on the US dollar index. So anyway, guys, thank you for listening to my show today. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.